Welcome to the Inspired Evolution, and today I'm so excited to bring to you the vibes from Steph Baron. Steph, how are you?
Yes!
That is the best response I've actually ever had. Sorry, how were you?
I'm good, and I'm very honoured that you invited me to be on this podcast with you.
Oh, thank you. Such a treat to have you here. So for those tuning in that don't know much about Steph, Steph is a yoga teacher. She lives in, well now, unfortunately, for some of us left back here in Melbourne, she lives in tropical far north Queensland. And basically, she enjoys soaking up the beauty of life and sharing her wonderfully weird vibes of the world every day. And that's pretty much why she's here today, to share her vibes with you. Because if I'm to be honest, weren't you swimming down the street the other day?
Yes. Actually, we had crazy flooding in Cairns, so my street, it was deep, like real deep. So I put my togs and goggles on and I went for a swim. And funnily enough, on the weekend, I was in hospital with like violent gastro.
Oh no!
I'm sure it wasn't related. It was like 6 days apart, but everyone's like, it's because you swam down the street.
Haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate.
Your moments. Like, it's not every day that your street floods, so it's pretty exciting.
I absolutely loved it. You went live on Facebook and I was like, where is this going? Like, she's out just standing around in the rain with her goggles on, and then next it like cuts and then you're like actually doing laps down the street, and I was in a fit. It was amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that.
It's one of those moments. I felt like a kid again. Like, I think I was really tired that day, and then I was like, oh, I really would like to go swimming in the street. That's kind of crazy. And then it was like, I'm doing it. I'm putting my togs on. And then I was out there and I was just like so shrill. So
that's great. So that's something that I've noticed, just following a journey a little bit, is like the importance of like, I was going to say non-conformance, but that sounds so corporate. But just like cultivating the crazy. Is that a nice way of putting it? Like,
I love that.
yeah, right? Because that's something that I definitely adhere to, but I love your vibe and the way you're sort of always out there to do something different. Tell us more about that.
I guess I've always, like, as a kid, I was kind of like the class clown and always up for a laugh.
Yeah.
Never took myself too seriously, and yeah, it's just who I am. Like, there's been so many times in my life where I've been like, right, I'm just going to contain it and just be a little bit quiet and just like listen to people and maybe not be so loud and crazy. And then it was on it, and I was reflecting on it today. It's just like full suppression of like your innate light and your being and your joy and your creativity, because that's it, right? It's like creative excitement, joy, all of these things. And I had an incident earlier this year. I moved in with a girl, and she was not like in the happiest of mind spaces, and I had just moved in and I was all full of enthusiasm, and she actually asked me, like, can you tone it down? Like, your bubbliness, it's just a bit too much. And I was like, whoa, that's like the thing I've always loved about myself. And then I got fired like 2 weeks later from a retail job I had because I was, they said I was a bit too bubbly and better suited for HR or PR. So yeah, I felt like I really like to listen to the universe. And when all this happened, I was like, all right, so I'm very bubbly. I need to tone this down. And anyway, I came full circle and I realized that it was basically just me needing to own my bubbliness and understand that you're never going to, like, there's always going to be people with their reflections, and you're going to maybe magnify reflections for people. So this was a pivotal point for me. It was like, this is what you have to offer the world. You're an excited person. So do that. But obviously, then I did have to look at myself and see how it is that I can make people feel comfortable in my, like, when I'm in that sort of space as well.
Interesting. I really enjoy that, because that's like it's like a full owning of you're crazy. Which now saying crazy this many times actually makes you sound like super crazy. She's super normal. It's super fun. Yeah, it's I find that really interesting, because I've noticed that sometimes in myself is it's when you're like the dance, right, between being yourself and then like being culturally appropriate, when a big part of, I guess you probably know this yourself, like not working the mainstream sort of anything, kind of realizing that a lot of society is about you not being yourself. It's dependent on you not being yourself. It's like you're not pretty enough, you're not good enough, makeup, shoes, clothes, like, it's just like consistently you need to be not you. So I really, really respect that process that you've just gone through and shared.
Part of what I've developed into, it's like almost like rebellion against that, because I used to buy into needing to have the best clothes, wearing makeup, having things about myself which on a list looked good, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, but now I just own it, and it's not, it's a little bit of an act of rebellion, me being me, because that is, a lot of people still are doing the conformity, and I just think it's that time when we need more crazies to wake the people up to owning their own awesomeness and not just fitting into a mold,
Could I ask you, just from curiosity, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, is there's a lot of people that talk about authenticity. And it's something that, touch wood, like I know everybody's got their own thing, and I don't want to say that this is not my thing, but I've never really thought about authenticity too much. Just, I think because I kind of rely on being crazy enough to just be me. Like if you're nuts, you're kind of your own nuts, right? Like no one else is nuts like you. Have you, like, has authenticity been a thing, or is it much the same, like, as to what I described for you as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I remember a few years ago, I really, I mull over themes in my life. And there was about 2 years ago when I was, like, on this theme of authenticity.
Right.
And especially because I love to post on social media. And there were times when I would post something and then in retrospect be like it just didn't, it felt icky. Something about it felt wrong. And I'd really have to look within and be like, why did I post that? And if it came from an inauthentic place, like a place of insecurity and fear, that's what it was. So I think that that's what had me looking at my authenticity is how I put myself out there on social media. And so now it's kind of like a daily practice because I use social media every day. I love my Instagram. And I just don't post anything unless it's super true to me in the moment, and I would not look back in retrospect and be like, oh, that doesn't feel good, I'm going to delete that.
Yeah.
And even though we're like constantly evolving, and then you might get to a point where you look back and go, that's not true for me anymore, but it's still a part of your journey. So If you're living in authenticity and alignment, you just got no regrets, right?
Yeah, that's so awesome. And your social media is highly engaging. It is super authentic and it's super fun. So I really enjoy following you around. It's so good.
No shame.
So with your social media and all this creativity, like where I know that you've got this amazing vibe, and then I'm in awe of the fact that you've got the wisdom to then take that and become a yoga teacher to share people like energy and that sort of stuff. Tell us the journey of how you became a yoga teacher. Like, was it always something that now I'm like pre-programming your answer, apologies. But was it always something that you were going to do, like something not mainstream, or was there university in the picture or something and you're just like, no, not doing that? Like, what's going on there?
Well, okay, so in high school I was a party animal. I had to try and do everything and just learn lessons the hard way. So I did go to university, and I think I went from like creative writing to arts to psychology to health sciences. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, but academia was not my thing. And then essentially what happened was I kind of started to calm down, and I became like a reformed party girl and started getting really into my fitness. And it was through that I became a personal trainer. So after a few years of that, lifting all these weights, I had like, big guns and whatnot. And I ended up giving myself a hernia. Like I was just lifting too heavy. So I had to have surgery. And it was in this moment when I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you lifting that? Like, why? Who needs to lift 100 kilos? Or, don't
ask. Don't ask these questions.
Ego thing. So I started practicing yoga like one-on-one to rehabilitate from my hernia repair surgery.
Injury, yeah.
And then it just so happened, and this is how I'm in CAMS, right? So my mentor, the lady who was teaching me yoga, then became my mentor. And her teacher was in Cairns. So when it came for me to do my teacher training, of course, I went to Cairns, fell in love, and now I'm here. But yeah, it was like, for me, it was just like a journey of self-love. I went from self-hate, abusing my body, and really masking my problems, to then going to yoga, which was all about being introspective and just being with your shit. Yeah. And that's how that evolved. So it wasn't what I expected ever.
Yeah, interesting. Something you touched on there really was like a red flag for me, because that I just resonated with the story of the gym, and then that story from self-hate to self-love. And just reflecting on something for me personally was, I'm sure it's not like this for everyone else, but perhaps it is for some, that I think it's worth us sort of sharing this, is the gym can be a bit insidious. Like, I remember that the first day I walked into the gym was kind of the most happy I was with my body. Because after that, it's like every bloke is, someone's bigger than me. Someone's bigger than me. And there's all these posters on the wall with protein powders, get massive, get bigger, and it's just like, oh my God, gotta get, and it's like this consistent, perpetual drive of like, I'm not enough. I don't love myself,
Totally. I mean, I remember I was going to do a photo shoot, and I think at the time I was popping, I had abs, but at the time I was like, no, I can't, like, I'm not perfect. And now it's like this different thing where I'm not aging terribly, but and I'm kind of like, oh, that's really interesting. But my headspace is so different. I don't care to change it. It's like, no, you're just going to rock that.
Yeah.
Scars.
Super awesome that journey that you've explained. And yeah, so tell us more about what yoga is to you.
For me, yoga has been like the most humbling journey. I guess I came to yoga in a really fit, strong body, and somehow was quite flexible. Yeah. So I just picked it up easily, and before long was kind of doing fancy looking party tricks.
That's awesome.
So I think at the start there was a lot of ego still. And then I got this hip injury, and I've had it almost since the start of my yoga journey, which it's a nuisance, but it also forces me to like completely regress and practice basic stuff, practice what serves me. Not when if I go to a class or somebody else, that might be that good for their body, but I really have to step on the mat and just do what my body's asking for. So yoga, and I always say this when I teach, it's like it kind of shines a light on your body. So as you practice and you're feeling into different spaces, twisting, bending, forward bends, all the different movements, you're basically like experiencing different sensations and like raising awareness, bringing more light, like shining the torch on all the parts of your body that might have been dark since childhood. And it creates space and freedom in the body. So for me, it's just been this really introspective journey. And then, of course, it stills the mind, which for me is a big thing.
So that stillness, it's got that meditative quality to it, right?
Yeah, it's like a moving meditation, which it's hard because I sometimes just step on the mat and admittedly I'm just going to do handstands and gymnastics basically. But for me to just be on the mat and just take some deep breaths, work with my yogic full breath or ujjayi breath, even if it's just 5 deep breaths, that's like enough to ground me for the day. And it's those like precious moments where I'm connected to my breath. And
those are really special, no? Like I've noticed, like even when I was like, even now at work, if it's really intense, I'll notice that I've been holding my breath almost for a while, or I'm like really shallow when I'm stressed. And it's like, okay, if you take a few moments just to take a few really deep breaths, like just consciously deep breaths, it just grounds you straight away. It's such an amazing...
Yeah, totally. And I think it's important to add to this that like a huge part of it for me is the mindfulness. Because way back, when I was a personal trainer, I was like horrible insomniac, running on adrenaline. And actually, that's why I started yoga. My boss at the time was like, Steph, you need to start yoga. So he put me in touch with Adrian, who then mentored me. And then all of this led to me doing like a 7-month mindfulness course.
Oh, awesome.
And then, yeah, it was, I always say it was one of the most transformative things that I've ever done. And then last year, actually in April, I did Vipassana, and it was essentially I learned in the meditation course, but in a spiritual, just in a different context, like, you know, worked differently, practiced differently. So in my journey, I feel like yoga, Vipassana, mindfulness, it's all just like melded together, and it's a healing thing for me, which I love to pass on to my students.
Can you tell us more about Vipassana? Because you're I think the third or the fourth person that's been on the podcast. I've never been. I'm super intrigued. I'm like waiting to go. And before, my excuse used to be that I don't have 10 days in my busy schedule, and that Vipassana was already working its magic, like just by shedding a light on the fact that you don't have 10 days for yourself.
Yeah.
But now I do have the time. So, yeah, I'm definitely curious, but can you tell us a bit about your Vipassana journey?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was miserable. And I think that at the time I was like, 10 days, what a holiday. Like, this was just before I packed up my life and moved to Cairns. So I was really miserable and I was just like seeking for change and seeking for respite. I was working and, you know, it was for me just like kind of a holiday. But then when I got there, it wasn't a holiday. And it was interesting. It was like I was suffering quite badly with my physical health. I had a lot of gastrointestinal stuff going on, a lot of gut dysbiosis, which was manifesting in all sorts of different ways in my body. So when I did the Vipassana, everything was just completely inflamed and like full on. So I had to sit for 10 days, oftentimes in a lot of pain, and just be with it. And it was like these physical issues which had been plaguing me for about, I think, 18 months before. And I had to be with it. Like normally, you know, in my day-to-day life, I was distracted and did what I did to run from it. So it was particularly challenging for me. But on the flip side of that, the pros of meditating for, I think it's like up to 10 hours a day from 4:30 in the morning to like 9 p.m. at night. It really gave me a lot more clarity and a lot more peace, equanimity, as Goenka would say, and a lot of like just practical wisdom that I will never forget. Mm-hmm. And also it was like, you know, we're in such a busy climate, like everything's go, 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 go. Even though I moved up to Cairns and it's a bit more chilled here, like everything's still pretty fast paced. So when you're doing Vipassana, you don't have your phone, you can't write, you can't read, you can't even snack, you can't do anything. So it took a few days to kind of acclimatize to like doing nothing. And then when I did, it was like, oh, this is the pace of nature. This is really awesome. And I just like go and nap 3 times a day and just switch off like that. Like normally I just can't switch off. So I think I learned something in that as well.
That's amazing. How was did anything around your insomnia sort of shift while you were slowing down, or not really?
Yeah, huge. What I realized was when you're in meditation and you are equanimous, so you're not like all in the mind.
Yeah.
That takes mental energy. And so if you're a bit neurotic, you might be frazzled and you might feel quite drained a lot of the time, even if you sleep. So I kind of learned in that experience that rest is a lot more than just closing your eyes at night and ticking off 7 or 8 hours. It's also how much you can rest the mind and just be in a different vibration, basically. So I felt like the Vipassana experience attuned me to a different vibration. And I did ask the teacher about this. I said, I just want to know why, I'm up at 4:30 and I feel like I'm only sleeping 5 hours a night. But my eyes have never been whiter and I feel amazing. Like, what is this? And that was pretty much what she told me. She said, your mind is settled. So that's regenerative.
Yeah, as you're sharing this, I'm getting flashbacks to this trip that I went to in Brazil, and I my best mate lives there, and he lives on this amazing farm on the edge of this nature reserve, which is like a national nature reserve. It's ridiculous. And he'd wake me up every morning before dawn, and we'd go like hunt waterfalls, or we'd go horseback riding. We were like out doing stuff all day. We'd come back really late at like 10, eat then, and then like go to bed at midnight, and we'd back up at the crack of dawn again. It's like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. And I was reflecting on this, like the body goes through a lot. Like I'm actually like rock climbing and all this sort of stuff. But I was like even more energized than I've ever been before, even though I was like getting less sleep.
Yeah.
And as I started like falling into that rhythm of things, I was like, oh, holy shit. I'm like recharging while I'm out doing things in nature, because they're all like, it's like you said, like attuning to a different frequency, right? Like it's, yeah, picking up. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
There's these teachings from Bashar and also Abraham Hicks. Do you know these channels?
I know Abraham Hicks, and I've heard of Bashar. I've never really tuned into Bashar though.
They have these but just different language, so it resonates with different people. But what they both basically say is like, follow your excitement, just follow your joy. That's it. That's all you got to do. If something feels, just do that. So it doesn't feel good. That's like your soul going, nah, not great. And when you follow your excitement, when you follow your bliss, that's life-giving. And so I think that what we both experienced was that we were feeling good. And so that, was like regenerative somehow. There's so much to it that we'll never probably understand, but you're learning through your experiences.
So like follow your joy sounds really, really inspirational. I love that. But then there's obviously, you've got to meter that in, right? With some of your, like, I'm going to have stuff that I've got to do that's not fun. Or is it consistently like when we're tuning into like, say, Abraham Hicks, it's about, no, like if it's not calibrated to your joy, it's not in your highest service.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I have like a retail job, which it's great, but also I'd rather be not there when I'm there. And I remember really contemplating this and thinking, no, to just quit and be a bum, that's certainly not the answer. Like, that's not serving me. That's not going to help me to evolve. So it's all about finding joy moment to moment. Like, can you have an interaction with a person and focus on the joy? Can you appreciate something beautiful, or, whatever it is, or like the company of your colleagues, or, it's like shifting your perception. So definitely there's instances where something just doesn't serve you, and, you'll know about it. Your intuition will tell you that. And then there's other instances where maybe you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I love that. And I really appreciate what you did there, because when I was talking about joy, I was still pushing it into the future somewhere, following something out there, and you brought me back to being present. So that was awesome. Thank you. So with your, like, when you're sharing yoga with your students, what's the essence of, I guess, what you're hoping will be their key takeaway?
I think being your own guru. I mean, like I said earlier, you can go to a class and the teacher will teach something that resonates with them, and they no doubt have the best of intention in sharing it with their students, but it's not going to be for every student. And so I'm always reinforcing to my students, like, this is your practice. I'm teaching this, but modify if you need to, take it easy, go harder, whatever. But then I also do talk a lot about mindfulness. Mm-hmm. So weaving in like the Vipassana wisdom, the mindfulness knowledge. And then I think that the third kind of main thing for me is having a laugh and making it fun. Like, I'm always taking the piss. I can't do lefts and rights, and I'm a yogi. There'll always be a few eruptions of laughter in each class, and I love
Oh,
we can't be too serious in life.
Yeah. So where do you think that comes from? The like just the joy and the laughter in your life. Like what was the like obviously I feel like that's something that you've cultivated, but what was the impetus?
Hmm. I grew up in a family with 4 kids, and I just remember as a kid laughing so much. Like, that when your belly aches and it's like you've just done a million sit-ups.
Yeah.
And I think my brother Lee is like the funniest person ever. And I probably actually have picked up a lot of, yeah, his lightness and his joy. Because he's like the epitome of these things, And yeah, I think it's also just innate to me. Like, for as long as I can remember, I've just been like a giggly, kind of really excited, bubbly person. Yeah.
It's a great way to be.
Yeah.
You also, I know that we've touched on mindfulness, and there's a lot to unpack in and around there. But something that I know that you're quite passionate about is also value systems, and like people have it like or having strong values and aligning yourself to your values. So I sort of want to just hold some space for that conversation to be had, I guess.
Yeah, I think that just knowing, like just sitting down and going, what are my values? It's huge. Like when I did my mindfulness course, we did a lot of exercises. One of them, I think one of the first things we did, we just had to write down like, what do we value in life? People value different things, and people sometimes, like I used to value my looks. I used to value money, and I like things which didn't really, they weren't congruent with maybe how I was like living my life, or how I actually wanted my life to be in terms of how I wanted to feel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that like doing things like journaling and goal setting, just sitting down and actually getting clear on what your values are, it can be huge, like so transformative. And because it sort of like sets an intention for you, so you can go about your day and be reminded of your values. So my values for the last few years, I mean, they're always kind of changing a little bit.
Yeah.
But time freedom,
Mm-hmm.
sunshine, like just being amongst nature, being, in just basically enjoying myself and choosing things that feel good for me. And being, it's like being as close to nature with lots of time for peace and quiet. So I think my Facebook bio is like, I enjoy the simple things in life. And I don't really aspire to like have millions and have like really flashy anything. I mean, that maybe one day that will manifest, who knows? And I wouldn't say no to the abundance, but yeah, it's like my values are just, I realized I need to tone them down, and I'm happy because, I'm aware of what serves me.
Yeah, what is in actual service to you?
Yeah.
So time freedom, I was going to ask you, can you share maybe your top 3 values? So I've got time freedom.
I guess actually one that I didn't mention is creativity. So I need the space in my life to be creative. And it's interesting because like I've never been able to work a full-time job, and I used to judge myself for it because it was like, what is wrong with me? I'm such a weak thing. But what would happen is I'd be there for a month, cool, settling in. Second month, just starting to feel my energy starting to drain, no time for I just didn't have the energy for the exciting things in life.
Yeah.
And I think that my happiness would always dwindle because I was not putting the time towards things that inspire me. So now I've been able to create a life where I have a lot of time to write, practice yoga, brainstorm workshops, with collaborating with other yoga teachers. Just I've been working on my business plan and looking to expand into a couple of other towns around Cairns. All these things, and it's like you're doing it and you get so lost in the time, and it's work, but it's not work because it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like so enjoyable. So creativity is a huge one for me. When I don't have the space for creativity, I'm not my happiest.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is it's one of the most potent messages that I'm like trying to advocate as hard as I possibly can, is that creativity is vitality.
I agree.
And
Oh my God.
as soon as the vitality slips, it's probably because you're not being creative.
Yeah.
And vitality is like the key barometer, because the message that I'm continually trying to put out there, and thank you so much for sharing it, is that health and purpose are actually one and the same. Exactly what you just said. If you're not on purpose, the first month you might make it through the job. The second month it might start to slip, and then by the third month you pretty much want to neck yourself because you're not on purpose, and so there's no health. And the example I like to give, which I think you might actually like this example because it involves Beyonce. But there's this story, like Beyonce goes 3 days and 3 nights without eating and without sleeping, filming videos back to back to back to back to back. And I find that absolutely amazing because the question that comes to me is, where does the energy come from? And because I'm aware that if I went up to her and said, Beyonce, here's a shovel, go dig a hole for the next 3 hours, she'd look at me. Maybe if she started, she'd probably quit in about 30 minutes, right? That's my presumption. Not judging Beyonce too hard. But do you know what I mean? Like, she wouldn't be able to do that for 3 days straight, no food, no sleep.
Yeah.
So how come she's got all this energy to dance? Like her energy, like her videos, high energy videos, dancing, singing 3 days straight. And to me, that was like a clear example of when you're on purpose, energy arrives because you're being creative, and the universe is fundamentally creative, and it's supporting you doing what you're meant to be doing. And hence, when you're on the right path, you're supported by your health.
That's when you know you're on track. I mean, there's so many times when I'm tired and I have to teach a class that night, and it's like, oh my Lord, where am I gonna get this energy from? I don't even know why I ask the question anymore because I know. And I'll rock up, and as soon as I start teaching, it's like, you're in the flow, and I don't know how to say this without it sounding a bit like, not full of myself in any way, but like something, you channel something, you channel like a higher energy, or like
Totally.
something just so magical. And I'll get through the class and I'll finish the class, and all of a sudden it's like I just feel born again.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's the most insanely connected time. So when I'm teaching, practicing, it's just when I actually feel the most connected to whatever the source energy is. It's not draining me, and it actually feeds me.
It's amazing. I'm so grateful to hear you share that. For me, it's this podcast. So like after this interview, like I'll do push-ups because it's just like
I'll do a couple of handstands.
like it definitely, like, and you can actually use that as a really awesome test, and almost like the kinesiology test. You know how they like, anyway, whatever, different rabbit hole. Yeah, like if there's heaps of energy before and after when you're doing what you've just done, and then you're like, oh my God, why do I feel so buzzed and so electrified? It's almost like the end, like you said, it's a bit weird, but you're not fully yourself. I believe in that. It's like the energy is arriving from the universe somehow, some way. We don't know it yet, but maybe the quantum physics or something will describe. So tell me more about this mindfulness course, because I'm super intrigued. Why were you drawn to mindfulness is what I really want to know.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, because I was such an awful insomniac, I went to the doctor and it was like, take these pills, do mindfulness. And it was like a no-brainer for me. So I went and did the mindfulness therapy, and I think I put my hand up in class like on the first day. It was like a group setting, and I was like, how long will this take to fix my insomnia? 'Cause I think Susanna, the therapist, was like, not a quick fix. So I did it for 7 months. Like I went every Tuesday, 3 hours each session, and just worked through my stuff. Like really worked through my stuff. You know, the things that you like. At the time, I was so self-loathing, and I didn't even connect. It was like, my life is miserable, but I'm so attached to, these like petty things that they were governing my life. So I had to basically like unpack all of that and then reprogram my mind a little bit to be less judgmental. Like it's about removing judgment and just having your experience, and then, going from there. So it's like really centering. But I I guess I really appreciate it now because I've done it and it's like in me, like that's never leaving my mind. And I can always come back to it because I'm far from perfect and I still get really caught up in things sometimes. But now I've got like, you know, a little tool belt with all my little, you know, things in it, and I can whip that one out and it always remedies me and I don't need to get in a rut anymore.
Yeah, awesome. Because that was going to be the question I asked. Because you seem to be quite fluid, and like I said, really, whenever I tune into like what's going on, there's always like this massive celebratory vibe. Like life's good. But I was going to ask, like, what does Steph do when life sort of, you know, throws you a curveball? Like, what comes up and what goes on then? Like, what is your sort of obviously be quite relative to each situation, but is it like a walk in nature that comes to mind, or is it sitting down to practice meditation? What's your thing?
I was going to say that nature. We've got the best places all around us in Cairns. So I can just go 3Ks that way, and I'm at the botanical garden. You know, there's like these red arrow, yellow arrow, green arrow walking tracks, and it's just like you're in the rainforest.
Oh,
literally,
awesome.
all I need is to connect me is just go to the botanical gardens. Or I listen to inspiring podcasts, or like there's a YouTuber who I admittedly have been devouring lately. Her name is Aliyah, the Perception Trainer, and she just always brings me back to truth.
Awesome.
But, you know, sometimes I'll also just go and eat some chocolate.
Never fails.
Still trying to really strike that balance. Like, it's always like this active balance in life, trying to ride the waves and not have it be like crazy choppy, you know?
Yeah, talking about crazy choppy, is that kind of what drew you to Cairns away from Melbourne? Like,
Yeah.
what was, yeah.
The energy, I remember when I came up to do yoga teacher training and people were serving me in cafes and they were just like so happy and really slow. Got me to this. Like, it's just, people are different here. They just kind of seem much more relaxed. And in Melbourne, so like what I was saying before, I don't aspire to be like a big shot. And in Melbourne, I felt pressure. There was just so much happening and it really unnerved me. And I never felt, I mean, and this was my thing, but I just didn't feel like I was adequate. So I also do not deal with the cold. So I moved to Cairns where I knew it was like a slower pace of life, tropical, always warm. And I was on the money. Like, I've been really happy, and I just at home, I just feel here like this is it. This is my place.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting because you'd think there'd be so much more opportunity in Melbourne, but here I am in Cairns and doing better than I could have ever hoped for with my business and just, everything that's unfolding. So Melbourne for me was a bit rough. Yeah, I mean, it served me for a long time, but the last couple of years I was really like, there was a big call for me to leave.
So Cairns is definitely in your flow.
Yeah, it is. It is. I had a little tiny frog jump on my belly today.
Oh,
like,
what?
It was like that big. So
I love frog hands. They're like the weirdest little things. They're like these little circle pads at the end of them.
Yeah. Oh man, they're adorable.
So was the move up to Cairns easy? Like, is your family here, or are you like what's?
No, everyone's in Melbourne.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love everyone. But I have to say, I don't miss Melbourne. I haven't missed it. The move there was like probably about 3 months there where I was just like high on life, like so happy. I was so in alignment, like yes, this is it. I'm home. But then there were a few bumps in the road, like when I got fired from my job because I was a little bit too excited, apparently.
Too fun.
Just basically, I just didn't fit the team. So whatever, it was a mismatch. But I took that so to heart. And then when my housemate was kind of also struggling with my energy, Like, oh my God. So I had like a real identity crisis for a bit there. But anyway, came full circle and now I'm feeling really grounded and super motivated for just getting grounded here, setting up my life and making connections every day.
And so now that that is home, do you have like any habits or rituals throughout the week or throughout the day that support your wellness?
Totally. So every week, Rusty's Market, and I do think it's probably like the best market in the world. It just has, I'm so fruit obsessed, like tropical fruit is my jam.
You're so spoiled.
So, yeah, it's so good.
It's a tough conversation to have.
Oh my God, fruit. We could have a whole other podcast about the fruit.
I am
I do the weekend Rusty's Hole, and then there'll usually be a visit to the Red Arrow, the Botanic Gardens, ideally 2 or 3 times a week, but some weeks not as many. And then I guess in my home right now, my 2 housemates they're full-time workers. So I really love to potter around and make kombucha, lie in my garden, observe the grass, watch the butterflies. Yeah.
Nice.
And also my teaching schedule. So that's routine for me.
Yeah, I'm definitely jealous about the fruit because I've got this saying that I'm coming back next life reincarnated as a mango. So.
I will eat you.
And by all means, it's so that I can bring as much joy as I possibly can to people. Like mangoes just make everybody happy. Mangoes make everything better.
I agree. I mean, like, I sometimes, so many times, like daily, have to almost pinch myself and be like, you're eating like a dragon fruit. Like, remember you couldn't do this like a year ago? And it's just, I just get so excited. So great.
So what's your favorite fruit?
That's a very hard question.
I know, that's why I asked it.
At the moment, it changes. So right now, I'm really digging watermelon and dragon fruit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it changes to like, I'll be really super into citrus but yeah, no, don't go down this rabbit hole with me.
Yeah, watermelons are amazing, right? Like watermelons actually taught me how to fast. They were like, I would just skip dinner and just eat pretty much half or whole of a watermelon. And it was this weird thing that I got into, but I absolutely loved it. And that taught me that, okay, that was just sugar and water. And then I'd come home and just work my way into like fasting for dinner. And eventually I started learning to like how to intermittent fast properly. But watermelons are an absolute gift.
Yeah, I mean, I go on and off sort of the raw food bandwagon. But yeah, no, sometimes the cells in my body are just so receptive to raw food, and it's a really connected thing for me. Like my relationship with food, and in particular moving away from dense food, always serves me. It does something to me in a spiritual sense where it really like, because you're not so heavy and dense, you're more connected, you're more aware. Anyway, so I'm like going through this real raw food phase again at the moment, and I'm loving it.
Awesome. So I want to ask you, cooking seems to be like a bit of a thing in your life as well, which you're not really talking much about.
Yeah. Well, you cut out there.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, can now.
Oh, awesome. Apologies, listeners. Internet playing up. Yeah, I said cooking seems to be a bit of a thing in your life, which we're not really talking about. So I'd love to sort of, what's cooking to you? Because it seems like you've got this ritual around going to make sure you get a whole bunch of great nutrition. It seems like you're quite conscious about what you're putting down the hatchet.
Totally. A part of being mindful and practicing yoga is just listening to how food feels in your body. So like I was just saying, right now, the cells in my body are really receptive to watermelon, like really loving that.
Yep.
There'll be other times when I just need to make a big pot of dal and I do love cooking. I really, really, it's such a nice process for me. And a lot of people can obviously relate to that. There's something just so wholesome and grounding about making beautiful, nourishing food. There was actually a time a few years ago where I was living in this house without a kitchen, which sounds so weird.
That does sound weird.
Yeah. And it was another time when I was just really receptive to raw food, so it was fine. But I do remember like going to mum and dad's house and just like taking over the kitchen and spending hours in there making some sort of killer feast. But there's just joy in food and joy in healthy food. As you become more mindful and as you kind of detox your mind and your body, you just don't want the other stuff. Your body, it rejects junk stuff.
Yeah, awesome. I want to ask you a question specifically around relationships, because you've managed to like, not you managed to leave Melbourne. Melbourne's this amazing thing, but you managed to leave Melbourne and set yourself up in Cairns quite like rapidly, I found. Did you have do you think your personality is kind of the key ticket, like just being like following your joy and being upbeat, or did you already know people, like the whole relationships?
Yeah, you're asking questions that I've been pondering on recently, so it's funny. I was just thinking about this before. Like when I came to Cairns, like I said, I was like in this really bubbly, high energy, happy place. And I was a go-getter. Like I had to do things. I had to get my life organized. Uh-huh. So it was kind of like, I just didn't have a choice. So I had the yoga school where I knew some people from my yoga teacher training. I guess that was it. And then I met my housemates, and then they became really good friends. And then I started working at various different places. And it's kind of just met people at the markets. Like I can't go to Rusty's without having a 10-minute chat with like 5
people. Yeah, awesome.
I think I was just in my life very open, very receptive, and it was a natural like effect of uprooting and then moving to a new city. And I was reflecting on it today because I've just had this really chilled out day where I didn't exactly like do a lot, and I thought to myself, maybe you should do more stuff. And, you'll yield more from that. And I thought, what's happened? What's changed for me? Why am I more complacent today? And I realized I'm not desperate. It's not a flight situation anymore. So I'm pretty comfortable. But it was also a time for me where I was thinking, maybe you should channel Steph of 5 months ago and just get a little bit more like, get out there.
Ring ring, Melbourne calling.
Oh God.
Enough said. I'll stop pushing that paper. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really absolutely, that was really cool. So I will start wrapping it up just because I know you've got heaps of awesome things waiting for you in Cairns and the sunshine and all that sort of stuff while we're here in Melbourne. Today's actually a nice day, so we're kind of grateful for that. If you had one book that you had to recommend, is there a book that's sort of been exemplar on your journey?
Ooh.
Favorite book?
Okay.
Easy question. Favorite book?
Okay, this is like not okay, there's a few books. One of them is Your Body is the Barometer of Your Soul by Brian Mitchell. Kind of like you can heal your body, like Louise L. Hay type thing. But I love that metaphysical stuff. And the reason I'm suggesting this book is because it's the one book that I whip out like weekly or sometimes daily. Like something will happen to me. I'll have like a physical manifestation. It's like, okay, what does this mean? And then it encourages you to look at the problem from a spiritual, emotional perspective.
Right.
I lent it to a friend a few weeks ago, and there's been about 3 times since I lent it where I'm like, oh, where's that book? Don't have it.
Yeah, right.
But then I would say, can I have 2?
Okay. Just because it's you.
I think that another big one for me was Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and also A New Awakening.
Yes, amazing.
So that was for me really at the like beginning of my spiritual journey, and I just read that book and I got it. I think that's a big starting book for a lot of people.
Yeah, I was just going to say that book totally did something to me as well. That was and amongst all the chaos, that was definitely a book. I think I've listened to it, the audio, many, 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 many times.
Another one that you can just keep reaching for, you know.
Yeah. And one of the, like I was referring to it just actually in another podcast today, and he was it's just I love the wisdom that came from it too. Like one thing that really helps me with that book is oftentimes we, you know, with the mindfulness and stuff, you become aware of certain things, and then there's this impetus to want to change. And I was like, yeah, but Eckhart Tolle said, I don't need to change because it's purely the awareness is already creating the shift. And that took so much pressure off, like, oh, okay, I'll become aware of something and then I have to like create a physical change around it. And it's like, no, just being aware is good enough, because eventually you're like, if you know the pot's hot, you're not going to keep picking it up with your fingers.
I love that. And I actually don't even remember that part of the book. So now I feel, yeah.
You're going to read it again.
Amrit.
No worries. So, okay. If you had the opportunity, which one day we'll make it manifest, to put a billboard in Times Square, New York. So Times Square, New York, dense energy, all these cars and all these people, all these amazing billboards going up. What would your billboard say?
I think it would... Oh, the first thing that came to mind is weird. All right, we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
It would be me with nipple tassels on, being like a turtle. Doing yoga.
Being the turtle.
I don't know, I'd be doing like some random asana with a crazy face.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's a good billboard. That's a great billboard. Embrace your yeah, totally. I love it. Embrace the wacky, embrace the weird, be yourself. So much in that. Picture paints 1,000 words. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Amrit.
So my last question, and by no means my least question, it's my favorite question to ask, is, okay, so are you ready? Are you sitting down? You're sitting down. This is good.
Sitting down.
Who are you? Beyond your identity, beyond your skin suit, beyond your work, beyond Steph. It's metaphysical. So who are you?
I am a bowl of energy, which is always changing and in flux, but generally I'm heading towards joy, heading towards the good feeling things in life. I think that I'm a good person, and, you know, I think I need to always remember this and like be on my path and just follow the joy.
Yo, I love that. I love that.
Full of crazy energy.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, Steph, I'm really grateful for you making the time to share yourself with us today and share your wisdom and to share your vibes. I think it's infectious.
I feel so grateful. Like the people you've had on this podcast, like they're amazing.
And so are you. Yeah, so thank you so much thank you for being you and just, you know, consistently inspiring us to stay happy, stay motivated, stay, you know, like follow the joy. It totally, like, you embody that really, really well, and thank you so much for sharing that, you know, in all of the ways that you do, your social media, I'm aware your yoga class, and, you know, consistently taking that further and further, and just like that wisdom of just staying tuned to yourself and like allowing yourself to do what's best for you. Awesome to receive that. So thank you so much for the potent messages in that. I do like to say life is a journey, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's just an eternal now, because we both read Eckhart Tolle. I don't know what's going on. Life, it just is, or something. But I wish you all the best, nonetheless, just without all the semantics. So I just want to finally just make it available to people, perhaps, is there a way that they can get in touch with you if they want to reach out, hear more, learn more?
Yes, I'm most active on Instagram, so my account is Wellness with Steph.
Awesome. Perfect.
I suspect that there will be more platforms in the future to come, maybe some YouTube and stuff, but for now, Wellness with Steph.
Grounded on Instagram. Perfect. Yeah. Such a blessing. And as always, thank you guys so much for listening. Such a treat to be here with you. Thank you for your attention. Much love. You.